as y'all walked in, y'all picked up some Skittles and M&Ms from Britain and the United States. And as y'all eat them, I would like y'all to think about the difference in the appearance and the way they taste. So if y'all had to guess, what do y'all think this building is? Yes, that's right. So you're probably thinking of something along the lines of a museum, a restaurant, or even a hotel. But in fact, it is Starbucks in Milan, Italy, where the coffee culture is much more than just a frappuccino. And trust me, the inside is just as magnificent as the outside is, and it compares nothing to Starbucks' original location in Seattle, Washington, or even our local Baton Rouge locations. So this brings up the question, why would a world-renowned company with over 28,000 locations choose to adapt their marketing plan? Some people think of this as a two-pronged decision of either standardization or adaptation, where standardization uses the same strategy in a variety of cultures, helping with aspects like familiarity and keeping the costs down, while adaptation might change that strategy, giving a much more individualized approach. But I like to say it is not just a two-pronged decision. In glocalization, a combination of standardization and adaptation is another viable option where companies can think globally and act locally. So back to the M&Ms and Skittles y'all just ate. You might have noticed that for the M&Ms and Skittles, they weren't as vibrant. That is because in Britain, they do not use artificial dyes. And for the M&Ms, they did not have the same aftertaste as the American ones because they use more natural ingredients, making the chocolate richer. And for the Skittles, instead of grape, they used blackcurrant, which is a berry, and it was actually banned in the 1900s in the United States. So let's go back to Starbucks. It wasn't only in Milan, Italy, where Starbucks chose to adapt their marketing plan. They also did it in Saudi Arabia, where they changed their logo to be a crown and waves instead of the mermaid insignia, since the mermaid insignia was actually found as pornographic there due to their indecency laws. But not all companies like Starbucks, M&Ms, or Skittles choose the glocalization route. So when Walmart expanded to Germany, they decided to take the total standardization route by using the same blueprint in Germany as they did in the United States. But the German customers did not have the same reaction as the Americans once did. They found Walmart to be overpriced because they felt as if they were paying for the customer service, so having people bag their bags for them or greet them at the door. This caused Walmart to lose $1 billion, and so you could say that their slogan of save money, live better did not work there. And Nike made a similar approach where they decided to create the same commercial for both New Zealand and the United States, featuring a rugby coach psyching up his players saying, visualize your opponent as your worst enemy. Of course, in the United States, we would find this commercial more motivational than anything else. But in New Zealand, it was actually found to incite violence, forcing the New Zealand Advertising Board to actually ban the commercial there. So both Nike and Walmart decided to take the total standardization route, and neither one of them succeeded. But luckily for IKEA, the Swedish furniture company, they realized that glocalization was necessary after they had already expanded to America. So when IKEA entered the American market, they decided to use the same bed size in America as they did in Europe. But the European bed size is slightly smaller, which aggravated customers since their sheets would not always fit on the beds. And they also found that they had an oversupply of armoires since we have many more walk-in closets here. So they were able to learn that they had to adapt in the American culture. So when they entered the Indian market, they decided to visit 1,000 different homes in order to learn their lifestyle there. And they found that Indian families have frequent visitors, so movable seating like these stools was necessary to accommodate guests. And that they do not frequently use forks there. So in the children's cooking set, they decided to feature 4 spoons instead of knives, forks, and spoons. Another company that chose to glocalize was Coca-Cola. Even though Coca-Cola is one of the most commonly known phrases throughout the world, they decided to change their logo in places like Israel and China. But due to their unique script, we can still recognize their logo no matter what language we speak. They even had to change their recipe in places like Germany, where they made it more tart, in Italy they made it sweeter, and in Mexico they decided to use real sugar in glass bottles like these. So many of the companies that we have looked at so far have not really glocalized in the United States per se. But McDonald's had to do just that in Sedona, Arizona, where their golden arches are nowhere to be found. So instead of the golden yellow color arches, they use a turquoise blue, since officials there said that the yellow would clash with the red rock landscape. And in France, McDonald's is a completely different story with 1,480 locations, and they are anywhere to be found, even places like inside the Louvre, the famous French art museum. And they have such a wide variety of pastries there, from macaroons to baguettes to croissants, that compare nothing with what we have here, burgers and fries. So now let's go back to our hometown of Baton Rouge, where Raising Cane's was founded. And when I had the opportunity to talk to Todd Graves, he explained to me that it is vital for companies to consider the local circumstances into which they are expanding. But their partner in the Middle East actually did not want them to change their menu. So they were able to keep their menu the same. However, they did have to localize their supply and stop featuring their dog Cane on merchandise since pet dogs have a stigma around rabies there. So you could say, like many of the companies we have looked at, Raising Cane's was also able to think globally and act locally. But it is not just businesses who can use this approach. We can too in our everyday lives by respecting the values, norms, and traditions of other cultures and realizing that there is more than one way to do something. Thank you.